Okay, I guess we'll do the loop again. Might as well. Jeez, if I can shift. They just regraded this yesterday. So it's smooth, but loose. Here we go. And you don't want to go off that edge. Black butterfly. Perfect day for riding today. Yeah, the leaves are already changing. It's gonna be nice in a few weeks. Howdy, birdie. Wish I had a motorcycle with a suspension. I was watching that the adventure motorcyclist girl there, her channel the other day, and she's got a Honda, God, I forget the type of bike she has, but it's like a Honda 300, but it's a like an adventure, you know, street slash off-road bike. I forget the name of it, but it's a 300, and she was riding a she's taking a break from her trip around Africa on that Honda. She was in Spain riding like a Ducati, similar type thing, like a you know, adventure enduro bike, but a hell of a lot more expensive. I mean, God only knows. I gotta look them up and see what those things cost, but if you can even get them in America. But she was riding that Ducati, and she's like, oh my God, the suspension is unbelievable. You know, she said it's like riding on a cloud. And it had different modes too that you could, it had like a computer screen so you could switch between, you know, street mode and, you know, off-road mode and, you know, rough terrain mode. So, I don't know, I must have had electric shocks or something. I don't know how, I don't know how it works. I know the Corvettes had, you know, different modes for your suspension. And I think it used like a magnetic fluid in the shocks. So, You know, if the magnet was not applied, it would be, you know, like water in the shocks. Oh, somebody left a mark there. And then if you put the magnet to it, it would get thicker. So, you know, you'd have more shock. And then if you applied more magnet to it, it would, you know, even get thicker fluid in the shock. So I think that's how that works. I don't know about the bikes, but I guess I could look it up. But she was riding that Ducati. I think it's a 450. She said, man, this thing's got power. So not only did it have a lot of power, but, you know, the suspension, if you're riding, she rides, you know, 4 or 5 hours at a time down some pretty rough trails. So, you know, you get pretty tired after that. So you ride a Ducati, you get off and say, geez, I could ride another 10 hours. So it's kind of funny. She was talking about maybe getting one. Problem is, it's so damn tall. And those bikes are heavy too. I don't think she was able to lift it. She dumped it, I mean, at least on camera, she dumped it maybe I mean, they were rough trails they were on, but she dumped it like 3 or 4 times and needed help getting it up, so, you know, that's a concern. When you're in the middle of the African bush and you dump your bike and you can't get it back up and there's a lion coming your way, then what do you do? So even lifting the bike she's got now, it looks pretty difficult. She's got it loaded down with luggage. So I mean, you know, she's got a big tank bag and saddlebags and a back bag, and so she's probably got almost 100 pounds worth of gear. I mean, when she travels for months. I don't know how tall she is. She's Dutch, which almost by definition means she's, you know, 6'2", but she's not. You know, usually the Dutch are very, very tall people. Even the women. I remember flying KLM Dutch Airlines one time. Woo! And the stewardesses were hot. They're like 6 foot, blonde, blue eyes, models, model material. And then when we got to the airport, we plopped down next to the, it was like the KLM Dutch, you know, concierge area. So all the stewardesses were going in there. It was an interesting view. But she's a lot shorter than that. So I know she's on her tippy toes even with the Honda. And I think I've looked that Honda up for seat height. It's taller than this one. This one's oh, there's a hawk. Sometimes those hawks just kind of hang out on the trails, you know, looking for a unsuspecting squirrel or chipmunk to run across. So the reason I brought that up is I'd love to ride a bike like that. Although, you know, that bike like that is something you want to drive from here to Alaska. I mean, that's what it's for. It's not for trails like this. Well, I mean, it'll do trails like this, but I mean, I wouldn't buy it just for this. Kind of a waste of money. So I'm going to look up what those things cost. I mean, it's got all the bells and whistles. I mean, it's a highly engineered bike. This is more like a John Deere tractor, you know, compared to that thing. This thing's been in production for 20 years without many changes either. I think they finally went to fuel injection on these bikes, but I mean, you know, that adds cost and complexity. You know, they're doing it for the greenies. But this one that I have has got a carburetor on it. That's one of the reasons I'm happy I bought it when I did. I mean, a carburetor is pretty easy. If the bike's not running right, you pull the carburetor off, you tear it apart, you rebuild it, put it back together, and it's fine. If the fuel injection ain't running right, you know, you can play on your laptop for a while to try to figure it out, or your fancy phone app. But you may have to bring it in and get an expert to look at it. And if you're on the road, that's kind of a problem. So I'm going to look up that Ducati and see what they cost. My guess for that Ducati's got to be at least 20 grand, 20,000. But you never know. Maybe it's cheaper.